We celebrate the start of our holiday on the shores of Proctor Lake in central Texas. Besides being our mode of transport for the next 4 weeks, the van also serves as our home. Man-made Lake Proctor helps to control floods in the region and is well stocked with a variety of fish. Black vultures seek shelter in the trees while we drive past. It is late spring and masses of fire wheels still grace the roadside. Probably the only outstanding feature of Winters is its water tower. We wonder why the once stately farmhouse is uninhabited and slowly crumbles to the ground. Oil was detected in Texas as early as 1500 by a Spanish explorer. He saw oil slicks on the water on one of the bays. About 300 years later, black gold was discovered by accident by a company drilling for water. These days, oil donkey are scattered throughout the landscape and the smells of crude permeate the air. America has now reached the stage of being number 1 in oil and gas production. In 2013, Texas has reached its highest monthly rate on record in oil pulling. Besides oil, cattle are the main export commodity in Texas. The constant wind is put to good use, powering the 109 turbines in Goat Mountain Wind Ranch. 20 different landowners hold the 11,000 acres on which renewable energy is produced. White-tailed deer are abundant in Texas. They enjoy the shelter of huge pecan and oak trees in Abilene State Park. Not only are yuccas very attractive and stand out in the landscape, every part of the plant is usable. Inside the root and trunk, a soapy substance can be used as soap substitute. Flowers and fruit are edible, and the seeds are ground into flour. Native Americans used to weave baskets and sandals from the tough fibre of the leaves. Last but not least, the rigid stalk of a mature plant can be used to make didgeridoos if no eucalyptus logs are available. Once close to extinction, turkey vultures are now frequently spotted. The consummate scavenger waits for us to leave so he can start his dinner. High-tech telescopes act as a window to the universe to study not only our solar system, but also galaxies billions of light years away in space and time. The observatory is one of the world's leading centres for astronomical research, teaching, and also public viewing. Backed by the Davis Mountains, Fort Davis is one of the best preserved surviving examples of frontier military post. Dating back to the Indian Wars, it is strategically placed to protect immigrants, mail coaches and freight wagons on the San Antonio to Pecos route. Scattered in the paddocks are officers' quarters, storerooms and huts that once accommodated soldiers. Located in the high desert setting, remote Big Bend Park features not only rugged mountain ranges and steep canyons, but also solitude, and lots of it. The park stretches along the Rio Grande in far west Texas on the US-Mexican border. Our plan was to go hiking, but when temperatures were already reaching 44 degrees at 9 o'clock in the morning, we decided to pass. We decided to spend an easy day in camp on the water's edge. Peter could not resist the temptation to swim across to the Mexican side of the Rio Grande. Several of the river canyons offer opportunities for kayaking, canoeing and rafting on the river. This section is fairly tame, and this group of people have been enjoying the spectacular scenery by boat. A makeshift shelter provides the only shade far and wide. Due to the desert climate, there are absolutely no mosquitoes around. Even at night, the temperature did not drop below 30 degrees. After a short drive from Big Bend, we reach the ghost town of Telingra. About 1890, cinnabar, also called mercury ore, was discovered and the mining boom began. The population of the former tiny desert settlement grew to over 2,000 people. However, shortly after World War II, the price of mercury crashed, the mining town went bust, and the miners left. The old cemetery gives testimony to how dangerous processing and mining quicksilver was. Many of the workers fell ill due to being exposed to mercury and subsequently died. A sandlocked pirate ship and numerous quirky metal sculptures give testimony to eccentrics and artists living here. The desert climate seems to encourage unusual creations. Longhorns survive in the most basic and primitive conditions and thrive like no other breed. They are hardy, aggressive and adaptable, just to name a few traits. Stemming from ancestors setting foot on American soil with Christopher Columbus, they have become a product of survival of the fittest. After crossing the Pecos River Bridge, we arrive at Seminole Canyon. We have lunch before heading out on a hike to the canyon rim. Through the erosive forces of rain and flood, the canyon is still being deepened and widened year after year. Due to extensive crossbreeding and favouritism of European breeds, longhorns were nearly extinct by 1900. Since then, there has been a turnaround in the opinion, as the cattle are perfectly suited to the rigours of the southwest and its rough environment. We stopped just in time to let the wild turkey cross the road. Historic Brunet was established by Heinrich Brunet, a German-American cotton farmer. Saved from becoming abandoned after the Great Depression, the restored town is now a popular tourist destination. Palmetto State Park is one of hundreds scattered throughout Texas. Similar to a national park, flora and fauna are protected here, but camping is encouraged. Gonzales, a town steeped in history, was the site of the first battle of the Texas War of Independence. The war resulted in Texas becoming independent from Mexico in 1835. Cattle farmers from the surrounding area come to town to socialise and shop.
Unos iban por 6 meses, otros por un año más.
The statue on Confederation Place commemorates the fallen soldiers from the Federation Wars. An out-of-this-world experience is to be had while visiting Houston and Lyndon B. Johnson Space Center. Due to one of its main functions, it is often called Mission Control. A guided tram tour takes us to the rocket park and into several of the buildings. Some of the halls are just for display, but others are real working areas. Astronaut training, plus all the preparation required for space travel, happens here. The numerous and amazing exhibitions give us just a glimpse of the human adventures out there. We catch the ferry from Galveston to Bolivar Peninsula in southern Texas. Our GPS shows the Highway 87 leading over the water. Everybody, including a flock of gulls, enjoys the short, free ferry ride. A large percentage of oil and gas production in the USA happens in the Gulf of Mexico. Virtually all of the buildings along the water are built on stilts, anything to keep them above the water when a storm surge hits. This region is particularly prone to hurricanes and subsequent heavy flooding. For the last few days, a heavy tropical storm battered the coast. Despite the still extremely choppy seas, fishermen are undeterred and continue trying to catch dinner. Brown pelicans are the state bird of Louisiana. After nesting, they move north along the coast to return again in winter. Like the formation of pelicans, we also make tracks towards Louisiana. The bridges are marvels of modern construction, built in such a fashion as to allow boats to travel unhindered up or down the waterways. The ocean basin of the Gulf of Mexico is surrounded by the North American continent and the island of Cuba. It experiences only very small tidal ranges and is therefore ideal for swimming and other water sports. Found throughout the United States, raccoons inhabit mainly wooded areas. Due to the loss of much of their natural habitat, they have developed an impressive ability to coexist with humans. A haven for many varieties of turtles and other wildlife are the bayous. Pitcher plants thrive in the boggy and wet conditions. Generally timid towards mankind, encounters with alligators still need to be taken seriously. The animals are very territorial, and especially females, who defend their nests voraciously. Swamps and gators might not be for everyone, but the Cajun people feel right at home. Wise man's beard, Spanish moss or air plant garlands in many of the trees belong to the family of bromeliads. The plant absorbs its moisture from the air and rain only. Armadillos have poor eyesight, but a very keen sense of smell. The armour-like skin and their speed is the armadillo's best protection. When threatened by a predator, they frequently roll up into a ball. The morning sun finds us in another picturesque camping spot on Lake Force Point. Besides oil, agriculture is the backbone of Louisiana. The main crops grown here are rice, corn, sugar, and soybeans. A snapping turtle ventures onto the road and needs to be rescued.
Ready.
Building roads across the huge expanse of wetland took extensive engineering skills. Hummus House is the crown jewel of mansions on the river road stretching from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. Named after the original inhabitants of the land, the Hummus Indians, it has its roots in the time when sugar cane, the white gold, ruled. For a long time, the plantation was the largest of its kind, covering 98,000 acres and producing 20 million pounds of sugar annually in its prime. The house, in Greek Revival style, depicts southern living at its finest. The present owners are in residence and most of the house is not accessible to the public. The St. Louis Cathedral is one of New Orleans' most notable landmarks. Horse-drawn carriages are waiting to take visitors for a ride through the historic district. Jazz tunes from brass bands create a lively atmosphere on Jackson Square. It is extremely hot and humid, and we decide to take a leisurely ride on the river. The Natchez is one of only 2 steamboats still in operation. Riding on the old and authentic vessel takes us back to times when riverboats were the main mode of transport on the Mississippi. In true New Orleans style, the Dukes of Dixie are entertaining the passengers in the dining room. While cruising past the suburbs, we notice the heights of levee banks on either side of the river. Despite these and numerous ramparts, Hurricane Katrina flooded 80% of the city back in 2005. The damage caused by the last hurricane has been repaired, but the threat is ever present. The city is particularly at risk because of its low elevation, being surrounded on three sides by water and Louisiana's sinking coast. New Orleans streetcars have been immortalised in Tennessee Williams' A Streetcar Named Desire. We take a ride into the city centre. Aromatic smells waft from the cigar factory and entice passers-by into the shop. The motto, "Let the good times roll," applies in more ways than one. To watch a master craftsman create another superior smoke is captivating. A wide range of cigars cater for the most discerning smoker. In the business district, skyscrapers tower over ornate historic buildings. Over 60% of the population stems from African American origin. The remainder is mainly white, but smaller numbers of many other nationalities also call the city home. Illegal immigrants are estimated to be around 14,000. The French Quarter, or Vieux Carré, is another draw card for many visitors. Hidden, quaint laneways, historic buildings with iron lace and quirky details all add to the charm of the district. Culture permeates everything. Fine food, architecture, music, and even voodoo are ever present. Another unusual feature of the Big Easy are the cemeteries. The above-ground tombs or vaults are often called the cities of the dead. Due to the high water table, conventional burial in the ground is not possible. We reach Florida and the fisherman's mecca of Point St. Joe. The place provides something for everyone. Be it charter tours to the best offshore fishing spots, professional fishing, or just dangling a line from the beach, there is plenty of seafood to be had. The pace here seems to be slower, We follow the lead and just relax and spend a night underneath the bridge. While having breakfast, some deer pay us a visit. Manatee Springs is Florida's largest spring. The sinkhole forms part of an extensive network of water-filled caves in the limestone.
Trop excited. Ça c'est comme la bouche.
As-tu pris de... Je suis pas capable.
Yeah. Paula, j'ai vu 10 snakes, 10 serpents. Oui.
Où? Dans les branches?
Oui, oui.
Water bubbling up from underground is about 20 degrees Celsius all year round. Especially in wintertime, manatees or sea cows call the spring home. The marine mammal is vulnerable to extinction. Like the artist himself, the building housing the Dali Museum in St. Petersburg combines the rational with the fantastic. Outside in the garden, the famous straight watch immediately catches our attention. On the inside, the elegant staircase recalls Dali's obsession with spirals. Several galleries display paintings, graphics and sketches. Punta Gorda presents itself as a true holiday spot, including puffy white clouds and brilliant sunshine. Yachts of all shapes and sizes bob in the harbour and add to the general ambience. Reaching from central Florida to the bay, the Everglades encompass an area of 2 million acres of wetland. Even though surrounded by human development, it provides habitat to an extraordinary number of wildlife. The diversity of habitat means there is also great variety of trees and plants. Alligators are plentiful in the waterways surrounding us. Even on land, we encounter one of the friendly and smiling locals. A red-shouldered hawk watches closely as we are getting ready for the night. Miccosukee Indians offer airboat rides, which is something not to be missed in the Everglades. A ride over the so-called River of Grass is exhilarating but very noisy. Despite the intrusion of white man, the Indians have managed to retain their culture, language and customs. Today, they make a living from tourism. The traditional Indian village, called Chikki, is no longer occupied, but gives us an idea of the lifestyle of its former inhabitants. Surviving by hunting and fishing, the Indians have been living in the marshes for centuries. While driving over 7 Mile Bridge, we notice the old railway bridge beside us in the water. After severe damage by a hurricane, a new bridge was built, and the remnants of the old structure now serve as fishing platforms. This part of the Florida Keys, where we are now, is a section of coral reef exposed as sea levels receded. The archipelago of the Florida Keys divides the Gulf of Mexico from the Atlantic Ocean. The last island of the chain is only 140 kilometres away from Cuba. Teeming with activities for visitors of all ages, the Keys make for a fabulous vacation. Picture-perfect scenery with white sandy beaches and the lukewarm water of the Gulf entices everyone for swimming or water sport. We are staying in a state park on the Baja Honda Key for the next few days. Our campsite, surrounded by dense vegetation, is just a few metres from the beach. An indication of South Florida's tropical climate is the spectacular Royal Poinciana trees along the roadside. Black vultures appeared in ancient Mayan hieroglyphics. They are scavengers and feed mainly on roadkill. Given the opportunity, they also remove rubber rims from parked vehicles. We decide on an uplifting experience for our last day in Florida and take a heli flight. America's cleanest city, Miami, accommodates a population of around 5.5 million. It also has the nickname Capital of Latin America, due to its majority of Spanish-speaking citizens. The city metro sports the dubious honour of having the highest rate of violent crime in the country. Tourism plays a very important role in the economy of the cruise capital of the world. Due to the Gulf Stream, a warm ocean current, the weather is mild to warm all year round. The tropical and pleasant climate attracts many people to retire to Florida. Accommodating the rich and famous, Fisher Island even sports its own local golf course. The Sun Life Stadium hosts many big sporting events. Our journey in the southern states draws to a close with the final touchdown.